talk about Anora, why this movie is the best movie of the year, and everyone, minus kids, should see it. Right off the bat, this movie takes you exactly into Anora's world. Maybe not internally, but externally, what she has to do on a regular basis. She is a pole dancer and she works at an exotic club in New York City. And the first few shots of the movie, it is basically showing you what she does when she's clocked in. She is doing her thing as a pole dancer, flattering with her charm and talking to men. You can tell, she has her Brooklyn accent. Her accent is on point. It is so consistent throughout the movie. And she's just so charming. And you basically, as an audience, you get an essence of what she does for work. Not necessarily who she is. You're not going to figure out what's her favorite color, what she likes to do on her free time. You're really just seeing her at her moment, in her moment of work, her skills, her dance skills, her flexibility, all that stuff. So really kudos to the actress Mikey for doing an incredible job as a pole dancer. A couple other interviews during her press run where she had spent a couple months working as a pole dancer, and I actually have taken a couple classes for pole dancing, and it is tough work, and that's basically what she expressed in the interviews, and basically talking about how her skin feels ripped after the first session. I have to agree with that. It does take some time to get used to it, and it's a very physical, demanding sport, and yet she does an incredible job of doing it. If you watch this film, you would not think that she had just picked it up. You would think that perhaps she was a pro and that she'd been doing it for a long time. So huge kudos to her. You're just taken through this beautiful scenery of her as a dancer and doing an incredible job, and really being a very charismatic character, and just alluring these men into her, drawing them to her, and telling them, oh, come on, like, let's go to the private room, let's go do this, let's go do that. So, to me, that's adding up in my head. I'm like, okay, so that's how much for the private room, how much for the bottle of champagne, how much for this, how much for that. So she is making money, so she is good at her job. And then she meets Vanya, which will be the toxic boyfriend of the year. Might as well. Let's just put it out there. Vanya is the toxic boyfriend of the year. If I have ever heard of a toxic boyfriend, he deserves whatever he deserves. And so he walks in, and at first glance, he looks like a little boy. And throughout the movie, that pretty much proves, like, his actions match my assumption, is that he is a boy. He certainly shouldn't be in that club, but hey, he is there. I think he was either 19 or 21, but I mean, he was very much on the young side. But anyway, he appears at the club, and he makes a request that he wants to talk to a girl who speaks Russian. Now, you could see that Anora is not super comfortable with it, because her Russian is a little bit, a little bit more on the more beginner side of it. And she goes, and Vanya is with his friend, and that's where they meet, at her work, at her job. And they start talking a little bit of, Russian, and, you could tell she's a little nervous, not with meeting him, but she's nervous about having to speak Russian. And so there's a little bit of back and forth. She tries to tell him, hey, I prefer to speak English, if you're okay with that. And he's like, no, come on, like, let's just speak Russian. And so I spent a huge chunk of my life speaking English, but also in the early years of my life, I did speak Spanish. And then eventually I kind of brushed it off to the side, and it's kind of like a wave. Sometimes I go really heavy into my Spanish speaking, and other times I don't. So it just comes and it goes. And so I could really relate to Anora in that moment of, like, meeting someone who is, a native speaker in her, native tongue, and being like, come on, like, let's let's speak in our native language, and she's kind of resisting, like, oh, like, let's not. That is also a very interesting dynamic between the two, because there is a common ground that they both speak Russian, but from different backgrounds, you could say. One is actually from Russia, and the other one is raised, in another country. So anyway, that is one aspect, is like the language, the communication between the two of them is very interesting and does evolve throughout the movie. So that's one. So anyway, Vanya ends up really liking her, and they end up seeing each other, and he becomes a repeat customer for her. So that's really good. So again, Anora is making money moves. She's a hustler. She's doing great. She's, being hashtag boss girl. And then there is, their relationship as, clients, as a client, as a boss, does kind of take a step further when Vanya then invites her to a party outside of work. And, also invites her, hey, like, what do you think about, having you, like, what if I hired you kind of just so that we could be exclusive? And meaning, like, Vanya makes that move. He takes that initiative. He's like, hey, I like you. You speak Russian. You speak my language. Let's, like, how much do you want? Just so that you can only see me. And I guess that is a classic move from a guy of wanting to claim his territory. And for him and for Anora, the only way that she's going to accept that type of, accept that kind of offer is through monetary. So she goes, yeah, sure, like, just show me the money, and I'm all yours. And so now we seg into that part of the film of, like, now seeing them being even more intimate, as you can imagine. She's a pole dancer, so they're already doing some intimate stuff already. But now he wants exclusivity. So then this is going to take that to a whole nother notch. And so they do get married. And now that is a crazy part I found it shocking, even though I kind of knew that was going to happen since I did see a clip or two. But shocking because it was a very short amount of time. Like, it probably was less than a week that they had been interacting and had, these, overall really good exchanges. She provided her service, he was a happy customer, and he paid her well. He was blowing a lot of money for her, let me just tell you that. Now, who in their right mind is gonna tell a girl, let me marry you in a week? Mm-hmm. Now, again, let me get back to how I connect, how I relate to all of this. Look, I won't get into the details of it, but I went on a date with one guy, right? First date with him. I was being charming, I was being myself, what I usually do. At the end of this date, this man, or let me say, this boy, at the end of the date, he goes, I'm in love with you. Oh my, and I was in shock. I was like, oh, not because I was flattered by it, but more because I'm like, are you okay? It's only been one date. How can you possibly know that you love someone? So I had the same gut reaction when Vanya looks at Anora. They're in bed, they just have sex, and afterwards he goes, let's get married. And Anora, God bless her, I think she got caught up in the wind. She got caught up in all of it because she sees the mansion, the money, the laziness in being wealthy, right? And I think she drank too much of that Kool-Aid, and she was like, yes, she accepted. And I think the reason why she accepted was because of escapism. Clearly, it's like, who wants to do the sex worker, pole dancing life forever? Not everyone. No one has a desire. Everyone's doing that so that they can get to the other side of it. Because why? In that industry, it's very, it is high risk, but also high rewards. And so, early on in the film, Anora does, we do get to see a little glimpse of what her personal life looks like. And it looks like she's renting an apartment or renting a room with a friend or sister. I don't know who it is exactly. But it's very obvious she's not happy at home. It's not her ideal like living situation. And so, it's clear that, she's doing this job to earn money, to save money, and get to the other side of it and buy her own property and just have a better life for her. So I understand the sacrifice that she's making in that sense as a sex worker. And here here in this moment when she's asked or when she's proposed by Vanya, you can hardly call it a proposal, but so be it. I think she gets caught up with it. I think she, in that moment of a few seconds of silence to herself where she's thinking to herself, I think she is caught up with the fantasy, and here she's thinking, man, like, I have this young guy, we have had sex, it's good, so the intimacy part is great. He clearly has a lot of money, he has a nice house over here, so far he's treating me well. Sure, why not? Let's get married. Ladies. Now, if something seems too good to be true, it most likely is too good to be true. Yeah. So, sorry, Anora. Sorry, girl. But that's exactly what happened. And, well, let's just say the rest of the movie is a whole other roller coaster. But I will get into it. Don't worry. They get married. They go to Vegas. Amazing scenes. Amazing cinematography. Just amazing. Like, I have never been to Vegas. We've seen a lot of movies that take place in Vegas, but this movie really seals the deal for me. Like, they get on the PJ, they get on the private jet. Him, Anora, and his friends, they get married in Vegas, which is a very crucial detail, is that they get married in Vegas and not in New York. Okay? And, well, they celebrate, and everything is amazing. And then, think about it. This kid, again, he's a kid. I will not. Vanya is so far from a man, like, it is insane. But anyway, even though he's technically old enough. But anyway, think about it. He's blowing a lot of money, but yet never once in the film do you ever see him working or doing any sort of like work to explain how he's getting the money. And Anora ignores it. She is not blindsided. She chooses to ignore it. And basically he is watching over Vanya because the Godfather is in New York while the parents are still in Russia. So the Godfather, it is now his responsibility. It was already established that it was his job to watch over Vanya while he's here in New York. Clearly he did not do a good job because why? Vanya ended up getting married to a sex worker. So imagine how the parents react. They are absolutely livid with the fact. And so parents are yelling at him and telling him, you need to clean up the situation and you need to clean it up right now. And that is basically what happens. And so the Godfather, he has a lot of weight on his shoulders. You can tell the man is instantly stressed, and all of a sudden he's just like, he this whole time, he is giving chaotic energy. I mean, I would not want to be in the same room with this man because I think I would get hives just by just by being near his presence. And so he then calls Vanya, who is at home with his lovely wife, Anora, and he basically is shutting it down. That's essentially what he's doing. He goes, we're getting a divorce. You and your hooker wife. I mean, he calls her terrible names throughout this phone call. And he goes, look, these other men, his henchmen, are on the way to go pick them up, and we're gonna go ahead and get you guys divorced right now. Like, it's happening, it's happening. Um, Vanya turns into a 5-year-old and starts to throw a tantrum and is like, no, I'm not doing it. Very immature. I mean, like, at this point, this is when all cards are down and everyone is truly showing who they are. So I would just say, Anora girl, like, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. If this is how he's reacting right now, just through phone call, like, honey, get ready. And Anora here is kind of like trying to be the alpha in the relationship, and she's going, no, 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 no. We are married. We are married. We are not getting a divorce. It's not happening. And first of all, as she should, period. Like, you know, stand up for your man. Oh, even though your man should be standing up for you. But anyway, that's not the point. That's not the point. She's trying to put her foot down as Ivana's wife and saying, no, we're not getting divorced. This isn't going to happen. A few minutes later go by, and the henchmen show up first. So the henchmen show up first. The Godfather is still on his way to Vanya's house. Man, this next part in the film was probably the most comical, like, best written part of the film. Like, this is something that I just, oh my god, the moment it was over, I just wanted to, like, go back. I'm like, can we rewind it? This part was so good. It was just pure comedy gold. It was like, let's just say, I won't spoil it for you, but let's just say it was like the worst attempt in, like, kidnapping somebody. No, they at first were not trying to kidnap Vanya and Anora, but they were trying to say, hey guys, like, come with us, we're getting a divorce, like, I'm here to pick up both of y'all up. I'm here to pick up Vanya, and I'm here to pick up Anora. Anora, not having it. Not having it. I'm not getting divorced. Not today, at least. I'm not getting divorced. Not today. So she's trying to understand the situation as best she could. Vanya isn't doing anything. He is not explaining. He's too caught up in his world of throwing a tantrum, all of that. And, well, basically, let's just say he ditches everyone. And bye-bye Vanya, I guess. And so now it's Anora left with the henchmen, with their interaction, the two men versus Anora. Pure gold. It was just amazing. Like, I cannot, oh my god, that moment alone deserves all of the awards. Just so good. I mean, they were not trying to be aggressive with her at all, not at all. But I mean, they were trying to say, hey, we're gonna divorce you. Like, we're gonna force it, whether you like it or not. It's gonna happen. And that's the part that really pisses off Anora, because she's like, no, how is this gonna happen if I don't consent to it? Neither of us want to get divorced. This is all. She's like, this is all a you problem. This is not a me problem. This is all a you problem. So you go figure it out. But clearly they need her in order to move forward with this divorce process. So it's just, you could see the conflict. There is a huge conflict in that. So I would say the third part of this movie is now trying to find Vanya, because hello, they have Anora, they got her, but now they need to go figure out where the heck is Vanya. Where is Vanya? And so that's a whole other roller coaster of them just on this wild goose chase of trying to find Vanya. And you know, I will just say the last thing I'll talk about really is the ending of this film. That just really, like, the ending of it really was the cherry on top for me. I was thoroughly enjoying this movie. It was it was so authentic. It really was. And I didn't think it could get more authentic. And yeah, it was a little bit over the top at times, absolutely, and a little But that's the whole point of making an entertaining film. But the ending of it really felt grounded, and it really like, because throughout the film you're going through all these crazy like twists and turns of like Vanya leaving her, abandoning his wife, and not being found, and going back to the club, and getting drunk and getting high and doing all sorts of drugs, to then like the ending of, it was such a bad ending for Anora. Why? Because it's the divorce did end up happening. I won't say how, but it did end up happening. Vanya does go back to Russia. Bye bye, Vanya. And no apology. No apology to Anora. And she deserved a big apology from every single character in that film. There's a lot of characters in this film, from Vanya's parents to Vanya himself, to the Godfather, and to the henchman. An apology goes a long way. Goes a long way. And you have to be brave enough to admit your wrongs, and a lot of people are not able to admit their wrongs. And so, just for me, that really is what made me even more pissed off at the end of the film. Like, I was furious. I was mad for Anora, whereas I think at the end Anora was feeling just completely numb and heartbroken, and just so many feelings like just consuming her. And again, kudos to the actress Mikey for doing an incredible job of expressing all of that. The ending is so beautiful because, one, there's no dialogue. There's zero dialogue. It's between her and one of the henchmen, which was I have to look up his name, but basically there's things throughout this film, if you pay attention, this henchman was never aggressive or violent with Anora. And you can tell there are these subtle moments that the director captures where, he'll give her a very gentle glance at her throughout these very like chaotic, very aggressive moments. Like, there's a calmness to his character, and he always seems centered. And so as he drops her off at her home, back to the little apartment with the shitty roommates, she's back to square one. Just how devastating that is. One day you're married to like a millionaire, and the next day you're back to your little old house. Yeah, tough thing to go through. Tough thing. There's a look that they exchange at each other, and it's very interesting. But this scene is probably the more intimate scene throughout the entire film. And what happens in the beginning? We see Anora dancing on men, wearing very skimpy clothing, and just to some people that might be very intimate. To me, it's like, this is normal. Why? Because it's like, it's a woman's body. Like, have we not seen a woman's body? We know that women have breasts, curves, butt, like all these things. Like, this is normal. It's beautiful, but it's normal. So it's not anything like provoking, right, or shocking to see, because we've all seen it. But at the ending, instead, it's like there's no dialogue, but yet they are communicating with their eyes, with their facial expressions, and it is completely silent. All you hear is the car running and the snow falling. It was raining, and one of the things that really stood out to me of one of the more authentic moments in the film was when he asked her, "What does your name mean?" Not even Vanya asked her that. Nope. He didn't even ask her. He didn't care to ask. And Anora's kind of taken aback from that question, not expecting it, and it's kind of like, what do you care? And another thing that, again, that I could relate to, another connectivity, is, so my name is Anastasia, and I, on YouTube, I guess, around the line, I go by Anna just because it's shorter, easier to write, say, all that. And Anora does the same thing. She's never acknowledged as Anora. She is acknowledged as Annie, which is, again, interesting. And she prefers Annie. She actually insists that people call her Annie. But this henchman, he goes, well, what does your actual name mean? Anora. It's pretty. It's a beautiful name. Same thing with my name, Anastasia. It's a beautiful name too. And she kind of just goes, oh, like, I won't talk about it. Like, she's, she just went through this whole ordeal, and she's not in the mood to make small talk. But she goes, it means honor. And yeah, that moment just like, whoa, like, oh shoot, like, had Vanya, her husband, had he known that her name translates and represents the word honor, I mean, I don't know if he would have put her through all of that she went through. Because, to put it simply, everything that she went through was not honorable. It was the opposite of that. And it was disrespectful. She didn't deserve to be treated that way. She was simply a girl who caught up with her feelings, and he asked her, marry me, and she accepted. And never did she ever imagine that she was gonna get kidnapped, and that she was gonna get beaten up and ruffled up and being forced to do things against her will. How is that honorable? How in the world? So that moment for me meant so much, because to me what that was saying is that, this guy, this supposedly henchman, this lowlife, he was more honorable and more, he had more manners and more respect for Anora than her supposed husband, because he was like, hey, what does your name mean? Just out of curiosity, what does it mean? That spoke volumes of his character, which I thought was beautiful. So kudos to the director, kudos to the screenwriter for really conveying such a beautiful film it's a modern classic on romance and what it's like to be in a day and age where men and women can so easily dispose of their partners or whoever they're dating in their time. Beautiful, beautiful film. I hope everyone gets a chance to watch it, and I definitely will be rewatching it from time and time again. And I want to hear your thoughts. What did you think of this film? Am I the only one who got like this deep into it? Because this film is so good. It's just so good. There's so many layers to it. And for me, I will definitely be on the lookout for more films that feature Mikey in it. And for me, just to preface like what I thought I was walking into, or just, my rule is to watch as little trailers as possible, because I really do want to come into a film with a very clean, open mind of not knowing what to expect. And with Mikey, I did recognize her face as the girl who was basically grilled, or was basically blown torch by Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, filmed by Quentin Tarantino. So she was one of the characters in that film. She was part of that cult in the film, and I thought her performance in that film was incredible as well. Just the physical part of it, of being torched, being flamed, and all that. So she really, other than that, I didn't know any of her other films, so I'm really glad I got to see this one. I'm so glad she did this film, and she did an incredible job. Everyone in the film did an incredible job. And yes, those are my thoughts. I give Anora an 11 out of 10. It was perfection, from soundtrack to the location of it to the dialect of it. All of it was just incredible. So definitely check it out. If you haven't seen it, go see it and come back here and let me know your thoughts. If you've already seen it, please leave a comment down below. And this is my first video, so I would very much love a like and a subscription and a subscribe. So please feel free to follow for more content. Thanks everyone.